When I was creating this tactic, I did not expect to go the whole season unbeaten with an underdog team. Yes, AFC Wimbledon were predicted to finish 17th, and somehow we completed an invincible season. This is a breakdown of how I achieved this remarkable feat. Howdy people, howdy, welcome back to FM24. Today we do have a special tactic. We completed an invincible season, unbeatable season with AFC Wimbledon, who were predicted to finish 17th and 50-1 to win the title. So we will break down this tactic ASAP, looking at the tactic and formation strengths and weaknesses, break down the tactic in Football Manager. Towards the end of the video, we will be looking at some of those results, who were the top goal scorers, who got the most assists. But before we do, if you don't mind, hit like on this video. That will be hugely appreciated. Shout out to my Patreons, but let's get stuck in. This 3-4-3 formation involves three central defenders, with one of them being a wide central defender to support the midfield. The central midfield is staggered and two wing-backs provide the width and creativity in the attack. The attacking three consists of two wingers playing as 10s as we approach the opposition's goal, and a central forward who will look to drop deep and link play together before attacking the box to score himself. The 3-4-3 provides good balance between the attack and the defense. It commits 5 outfield players in attacks, while the other 5 players cover underneath and focus more on defending. A pair of narrow 10s can help create central overloads against an opposition midfield 2 or 3 and work to counter-press after loss of possession. Wide forwards can combine with the wing backs to create overloads out wide and help pin opposition's fullbacks in deep oppositions. Wing backs joining the attacks create a wide front line of 5 and can stretch the opposition's back line across the pitch. This works to create more spaces in central areas. The double pivot and back three provide a strong base against counter-attacks through the centre of the pitch. In a set block, the back line of 5 and 2 midfielders provide excellent defensive security, especially in central areas. So that was the main concept, strength and weaknesses of a 3-4-3. The strength and weaknesses coming from the coach's voice, so make sure you go and check out the link in the description. But now it's time to go into Football Manager and break down our unbreakable 3-4-3. The plan using this 3-4-3 was to dominate possession in the opposition's half while being defensively solid in our own half. Looking at the XG table, we created an XG of 103.6 with an expected goals against of only 41.5. So we had the least expected goals against and the highest expected goals for, with of course the highest expected points throughout the season. Defending also shows our dominance. We rarely blocked the ball and we rarely cleared the ball. We were also calm in possession. We did look to play out from the back, which is one reason why also we made few clearances. But looking at the fewest blocks as well, we rarely had to defend our own box. And we can see this with the goalkeeper too. Impenetrable defense and quiet defense when looking at the goalkeeper's statistics, because he hardly had to do anything throughout most of these games. One area for improvements was tackling. Though we did make a lot of tackles, our percentage wasn't that great. Now in the tactic, we are tackling hard, but make sure in your tactic you got some good tacklers, because you could give away a lot of free kicks with this tactic. Our pressing was amazing as well. You can see the average line of defense height per game. This is something new. You couldn't see this in FM23. You can see in FM24 now. Our defensive line, we had the highest defensive line, though it was only on standard, but we will talk about that a little bit more when breaking down the actual tactic. And then also we had a low number of opposition passes per defensive action. So the AI, the opponents hardly could string passes together before we put in a defensive action. And lastly, to demonstrate our complete dominance in League 2, looking at the pitch tilt, we had fewer passes against in the final third, but also a lot of passes in the final third. So you saw a lot of the creativity stats earlier with the XG and that sort of stuff. So we had a very high XG, but also the pitch tilt, we were playing in the opposition's half, and that is a very dangerous combination. Now let's break down this tactic and the roles, the instructions in the tactic creating screen. Time to set the roles in the formation, but also the style of play. As I'm doing so, you will see the style of play out in this beautiful match engine. Let's start with the sweeper keeper, because earlier I did talk about us not making a high number of clearances. One reason why we are using a sweeper keeper on attack, who's going to be happy to play with the ball at his feet. Moving into the back three, we're going to use two normal, I say sort of normal, they are ball playing defenders. Again, rather than clearing the ball out, they're going to be happy to play with the ball at feet or simply just bring the ball out. And then lastly, the left side of centre back is the wide centre back on support. As spoke about earlier, he's going to move forward and support the midfield and help with our build-up play and progression in central midfield. Or he can make underlapping runs and help us create in the final phase. The two wing backs, very, very important to the system. They are going to be complete wing backs, so they're not going to be really focusing on defending. It's more so getting further forward and help create that 5-man in attack. But also, naturally, they are going to stay wider and get further forward. They are going to be one of the main creative forces in this system. Moving on to our double pivot, how do we get them staggered? We are going to use one as a deep line playmaker, so he's just going to sit back and sort of hold his position in midfield, whilst the other one's got a bit more freedom to make forward movements, again helping that attack. So his partner is going to be the secondo volante, and that is how we are going to create our staggered midfield. The secondo volante is slightly different to a deep line playmaker, that their role is primarily a defensive one, best suited to be paired with an anchor. Again, a secondo volante is also a great role to create this staggered midfield. The attacking trio is also where things get very exciting for this Wimbledon tactic. I say Wimbledon tactic, it should work elsewhere. I did test this, a mini test with Sporting, 15 games or so. I left it as we were second. We won every single game apart from 2 where we drew 1 and lost 1 as well. Moving on to the left wing, we are using an inverted winger on support. He's going to act like a number 10 in attack at times. We do actually have stay wider as a player instruction, but that's more so in the build-up. Just stay wider during the build-up, and then when we get into that attacking phase, he will come in more narrowly and play more connected with the other 2 attackers. The right forward, slightly different to the left, is going to be an inside forward. So rather than cutting inside and trying to create sort of in the zone 14 area, so the area just outside the opposition's box, actually he's going to make some sneaky runs in behind the defensive line and also become a goal scoring threat, because the advanced forward or the striker, because we are going to change that role, isn't enough goal scoring threat. Now, talking about that striker, that goal scoring threat, it did actually score a lot of goals, but we didn't use an advanced forward. No, instead we use a deep line forward, someone that can drop deep and connect play with the other teammates, of course. So he's going to drop deep, try and create. If he doesn't get the ball, if he can't find his way to get the ball, you're going to actually see him just play with his back towards the goal rather than look to attack the back line or come to get the ball. He actually might just play with his back towards goal, and that way he can just lay off some easy knockoffs before then attacking the box. So that there, it's the player roles all sorted out. We do have a second and third tactic. So a second tactic when you're playing away, and then a third tactic to absolutely just kill the game off, which you will need to do because you can concede late goals. So we'll talk about that a little after as well. Before we do look at the style of play, the team instructions, I have actually taken you back to the data hub because this is very important and I don't want you viewers to miss out on this. How do we actually create our goals? Now, when looking at our creation of goals, it's actually well balanced. We are creating in different types of ways and in different areas of the pitch, looking at the assist location as well. Looking at the assist type, 14 of our assists in the last 50 matches came from corners, 25 came from crossing. So make sure your wider players have good crossing. That is very important. And also in the central areas, so we have 22 assists in this sort of area here. Make sure those sort of players, so that could be your DMs, again, your wide forwards coming inside, cutting inside, make sure they have some good vision and good passing so they can play that through ball. And that's how we mainly created our goals, from through balls and crosses in those wider areas. Those crosses were mainly low crosses though, not ones in the air. You can see with heading, we scored 12 headers. Majority of that will be from corners, and 57 were from play shots, or 25 from powerful shots. And a lot of those was actually some cutbacks into the box. And lastly, before we talk about the style of play, there weren't really a formation that we struggled against, but do look out for those 4-4-2s and also the 5-2-1-2s as well. You might want to tweak against those sort of formations, but against a 4-2-3-1, I'm being serious here, you might be comfortable, you might be safe against a 4-2-3-1 where we are creating a chance every 44 minutes. But now let's look at the style of play. Attacking width is set to narrow, very important. You can tweak this, but I rarely went to standard. For me, it was either fairly narrow or narrow. That is how the tactic and the system likes to work. Narrow passes, and that gives space for the complete wingbacks on the wider areas as well to be free. We can drag the opposition in the central areas with the two wingers as well coming in the central areas, and that leaves the two wingbacks out wide. The two wingbacks are also your source of creativity. Approach play, we do like to pass the ball into the path of players rather than into the feet. We do have a good pace rather than good first touch players and good balance, so we weren't really good at trapping the ball, but we are good at getting in behind. Focus play down the flanks as well, sort of get the ball away from the central areas, but our better players are down the flanks. Our two wingers and wingbacks are the best players or the better players in the squad, so that was the game plan. And you can see that with the attacking width as well. Move the ball narrow, and then attack down the wings where we could then earn some space. The passing directness is on shorter, so we are looking for shorter passes and look for quick combinations with that slightly higher tempo. Creative freedom, be more disciplined. This is sort of my favorite thing when trying to create some positional play. I don't want players roaming about. I like players to be sort of fixed in their position, and I don't like players going out of the tactical instructions as well, start shooting and dribbling when I'm telling them don't shoot and don't dribble. When possession has been lost, we are going to counter press. We kind of spoke about that from the little quote that I got from the coach's voice and the reasons why counter press can be effective in the system, so we are using that. In the away version though, we aren't. And then when possession has been won, we are going to counter attack, which is a very healthy strength for this team. The goalkeeper distribution, distribute the ball quickly, roll it out to your centre backs. Defensively, we were defending in the mid block, a very mean mid block. So when the opposition had lengthy spells without the ball, our wing backs, though they were complete wing backs, it's supposed to be focused on attack, they actually dropped deep into a flat back five. Then we got a flat four in front of that back five with that one striker pressing, and this is very difficult to break down. We're narrow, we're compact, and teams, they struggle to work their way around this 5-4-1 block, and that happens when we are in the mid block. The standard defensive line, it says standard, as you can see with some of the screenshots as well, it's actually fairly high. So I spoke about this on stream. If you're not following me, make sure you are following me on Twitch, twitch.tv/RDF Tactics. Now, when looking at this defensive line, it's very important to watch your games, study your defensive line, and then kind of base whether you want to go higher or lower. Now, when using lower, for an example, this isn't exactly us defending on the edge of our box. Actually, it's just lower than what you see on the match engine, if that makes sense. So for an example, Arsenal on stream, we were defending with standard, but standard for my Arsenal team was actually high, but now we are using a lower defense line, and that doesn't mean that we are defending deep, it just means we are defending lower than what I was seeing previously. The trigger press, we are using much more often. We are going to break from our defensive shape to try and get the ball, but because we are in the mid block, you won't see this sort of headless chicken movement. Actually, you sort of see players picking their moments to use or try and press, trigger press. And lastly, tackling, get stuck in. Risk and reward, as you saw earlier, our percentage of tackles was fairly low, though we did make a lot of tackles and we gave away a lot of fouls. That is one reason why we conceded the goals that we did, even though it weren't a lot of goals that we conceded. We just conceded goals, obviously. One reason, get stuck in and set pieces, but it's risk and reward. I feel it was way more beneficial than holding us back. Now, the away tactic is literally the exact same, apart from we have removed counter press and what you can actually do as well, especially with the right wing back. If you're a bit nervy for that game, you can actually use a wing back on defend, and I feel the defensive duties this year, they actually work very good. And lastly, when you absolutely need to kill the game, two wing backs are now on defend, your wide centre backs on defend, and your seconda volante is no longer on attack. But that there is all three tactics wrapped up, our invincible 3-4-3. Now we are going to look at those results. So these are all of the League 2 results. It started so healthy, 5-1, 4-1, 2-0. We then got a 2-2 draw at Sutton, but we beat Forest Green at Newport County as well. And this is when I started to think, actually, this tactic has something to it. And we just kept going and going. We got a 6-1 win there as well. We just kept going, literally. A few draws, a high scoring draw there as well, 3-3, 2-2s, a couple 2-2s actually, a few 2-2s, but you can also see some 4-0s. We rarely concede a lot of goals, in games. So we had a run of clean sheet. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A run of 8 clean sheets on a run on FM24. So in the league, we played 46, we won 33, drawed 13, of course, lost none. And then points tally of 112, 22 points more than the team that's second. FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. Let's be honest, I didn't really care about that. I did rotate the team though. In the FA Cup, we did beat Barnsley in the second round, who are a division above us. Cardiff are 2 divisions above us, and we went away to them, only losing 1-0. It was only 1-0. We could have had better players and maybe got a result. Or played my first team and got a result. This shouldn't be a surprise, but we did score the most goals, 113. Not the most shots for though, Stockport on top of that, and we're in second place. So, I mean, usually we would be on top of this list, and it's actually nice knowing that we're second, because that could also mean that our conversion rate was fairly high. The fewest shots against us, I mean, we had the fewest shots against in the league. Most dribbles not in the top 8. We don't have run at defense, you saw that. But we do have the most clean sheets and the fewest conceded in the league. Looking at the player stats as well, we have Josh Neuville. He's in 23. He scored 23 goals. Ali Al-Hamadi scored 22. And then we have James Tilley on 18. James Tilley also got 19 assists. Armani Little 11. And Josh with 11 as well. Josh had the most shots in the league. Actually, Jack Reeves with the most key passes, and our goalkeeper with the best passing completion. I did mention earlier I did a very mini test with Sporting CP, and it's only right that I show you. So here we got the Liga Portugal bet click. Sporting CP in second position, 16 games, 14 wins, drawn 1, lost 1. You can see Benfica here, they've won every game apart from 1. But in Europa League, we topped that group. We've won 5 out of the 6 games, losing 1, 15 points. And then obviously in the cup competitions, we are doing well. So unfortunately, that wraps up today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's tactical breakdown and tactical download. The link will be in the description below. Don't forget to like this video and shout out to my Patreons. Make sure you check out the Patreon and the Football Manager Show podcast. I have really enjoyed today's recording. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. I'll see you guys soon. Stay safe. God bless. And peace out.